The global balance of power has shifted dramatically as North Korea, a long-time isolated state, makes the unprecedented move of joining the Ukraine-Russia war. What does this mean for NATO, the Western military alliance that has been a cornerstone of European defense? Today, we'll break down NATO's response, the possible implications for the conflict, and what the future might hold for global security. Let's start by analyzing North Korea's decision to get involved in the conflict. For decades, North Korea has been a wild card on the global stage. Known for its secretive regime, nuclear ambitions, and aggressive posturing, the country has historically maintained strong ties with Russia. And now, it's stepping up to support its ally militarily. 1. Why has North Korea decided to intervene? 2. What form does their involvement take? Are they supplying weapons, soldiers, or intelligence? 3. How has this changed the dynamics on the ground in Ukraine? North Korea's involvement can be seen as a power play aimed at asserting influence in international affairs. But what are the broader consequences? NATO, a military alliance of 31 nations, primarily from North America and Europe, has been actively supporting Ukraine against Russian aggression since the war began. However, North Korea's entry into the conflict adds a whole new layer of complexity. The alliance quickly condemned North Korea's actions. Here's a breakdown of key responses. 1. NATO's Secretary General issued strong statements denouncing North Korea's involvement as destabilizing and escalating the conflict further. 2. Calls from NATO member states for increased military support to Ukraine grew louder, with some nations advocating for more advanced weaponry and heightened defense systems. 3. Concerns over North Korea's nuclear capabilities being brought into play have put NATO on high alert, with the potential for a much broader conflict becoming a reality. How does this change NATO's military and diplomatic strategy moving forward? The United States, being NATO's largest military power, plays a critical role in shaping the alliance's response to any new developments in the Ukraine-Russia war. Washington has been swift to react to North Korea's involvement, with heightened rhetoric from the US government. 1. Increased sanctions on North Korea were proposed, further isolating the regime. 2. The US committed to sending additional military aid to Ukraine, including advanced defense systems and air support. 3. Joint military exercises with NATO partners, particularly those bordering the conflict zone, were ramped up. This strong stance by the US reinforces NATO's commitment to Ukraine, but it also risks provoking further escalation. With North Korea's entry into the war, the risk of escalation has skyrocketed. There are now multiple volatile actors in the conflict, each with nuclear capabilities. Let's explore some of the key risks. North Korea's nuclear arsenal adds a dangerous new dimension to the war. NATO's strategic planning must now account for the possibility of nuclear involvement, which could drastically alter the course of the conflict. The involvement of North Korea might draw in other nations, particularly those in the Asia-Pacific region like Japan and South Korea. NATO, while focused on Europe, would need to consider these broader geopolitical implications. North Korea is known for its cyber capabilities. Could this lead to an increase in cyber attacks against NATO countries, further complicating the defense of both Europe and the US? NATO is now faced with a critical decision. How should it adapt to this new phase of the conflict? Let's look at some strategic options that the alliance could consider. This would involve sending more advanced weapons and bolstering Ukraine's defenses. Some NATO members may even push for direct intervention, though this remains a highly contentious option. NATO could lead the charge in expanding sanctions not only against Russia, but also against North Korea. The goal would be to weaken their economies and limit their capacity to sustain long-term military operations. With the potential for a broader conflict involving other nations, NATO may choose to reinforce its military presence in Eastern Europe, especially in nations like Poland, Lithuania, and Romania. Given North Korea's reliance on China for economic support, NATO might engage diplomatically with Beijing, encouraging it to pressure Pyongyang to withdraw from the conflict. As NATO grapples with North Korea's involvement in the Ukraine-Russia war, the future remains uncertain. The alliance faces tough choices about how to balance escalation risks with the need to support Ukraine and deter aggression from adversaries. 1. Could NATO's involvement lead to a wider war involving more nations? 2. Will NATO continue to increase its military presence, or will diplomacy prevail? One thing is certain: the stakes are higher than ever, and NATO's response will shape the future of this conflict and potentially global security. The entrance of North Korea into the Ukraine-Russia war has raised the stakes in an already complex and dangerous conflict. NATO's response will be critical, not just for the outcome of the war, but for the future of international relations in the 21st century. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this rapidly developing situation and analyze its impact on global security. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on global events. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think NATO should respond to North Korea's involvement in the Ukraine-Russia war?